Ole Miss should blast North Carolina in the NCAA tournament. Do I have your attention?
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Locked On Ole Miss podcast is the most watched Ole Miss podcast, giving you the best Rebels coverage every single day. I'm Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. Today, we're talking about why the Rebels are about to upset a lot of people. Chris Beards and the Ole Miss Rebels have spent the week being disrespected. Every talking head saying they don't belong on the same court as North Carolina. But now it is time to play the game. And let me tell you what, this is a great matchup for the Ole Miss Rebels. While everyone else is counting them out, I'll break down exactly why the Rebels are about to disappoint a whole bunch of people in this NCAA tournament showdown. We're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. And a special shout out to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is. And don't forget to check out a second listen. Chris Gordy at Locked On SEC or Corey Burton at Locked On Vandy. They offer more perspectives on college basketball, the SEC, and yes, even Ole Miss. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Shop up today and stay energized. We have the rarest of a contest today, especially in a tournament background. You have a situation to where a number 16 is an underdog to a number 11 seed in the NCAA tournament. Ole Miss should be the favorite. Ole Miss really ought to be the favorite if we're going to be real about it. But North Carolina is riding the wave of the success against San Diego State earlier on Tuesday. And because of that, they opened up on the lines and people betting in the whole 9 yards. Listen, it's either a recency bias from the San Diego State game, which, by the way, San Diego State was absolutely awful. If Ole Miss would have played in that game, they'd have beaten San Diego State by 40 points. Or the fact that there's a jersey in the game with North Carolina across the front, and people just associate that with something. They've heard of that. They know that Michael Jordan went there. They're a good team. They've won 9 out of 11. Whatever you want to do, North Carolina is getting a groundswell of support right now, to the point where if you go to the March Madness app, it's like North Carolina's trending on our brackets. It's because they're a blue blood, and it's not overly worth talking about. If you want to look at the odds and the result of that, North Carolina is currently favored by 1.5 over Ole Miss. Now, that's a basket. I mean, it's not much of a favorite, but technically, if Ole Miss wins the game, it would be an upset. And that is the reason we titled it that way. They are the underdog in this game. The over-under right now is set at 155.5 for this game. And I think Ole Miss is going to win this game. Why do I think Ole Miss is going to win this game? Ole Miss has usually won over the course of the season when they've come across guard-dominant teams. Ole Miss has come up with the upper hand in that game, whether it be Alabama or Tennessee. Anybody that is guard-dominated, Ole Miss was able to kind of take them apart. The reason that Auburn has given Ole Miss trouble is not because of their guards. It is because of Janai Broome. Mississippi State gave Ole Miss trouble this year, not because of their guards, not because of Josh Hubbard. It was because of their bigs and the physicality that they could play with. When Ole Miss came across really good rebounding front court teams, they struggled. When they came across other teams to where they could match up a little bit, they won the game usually. And look at what they did against Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, so forth. North Carolina is not a very good rebounding team, and they're not a very good front court team. I talked with Isaac Shade of Locked On Tar Heels, and he said, hey, North Carolina tried to recruit every single front court player that they could, and they just got passed on all of them. And this is a guard-dominated team. Ole Miss has had a great deal of success against them. I think the wings for Ole Miss are going to be the difference in this game. Dre Davis, Matthew Murrell, Malik Dia, whenever they're doing the 5-out type stuff. I think that is going to be where the rubber meets the road for the Ole Miss Rebels and could be a major difference maker in this game. And third of all, Jaemyn Brakefield and Matthew Murrell have been waiting for this for 5 years. They've been the face of this program. They've been through the ups, the downs, everything that goes through in this program. And not only have they kept it between the lines, they've got this program better and better and better and better. I think that Jaemyn, Brakefield, Matthew Murrell are going to be really ready and locked in to perform in this basketball game. Now, we all know if you play team sports, there's one of two ways this could go. There's no gray area. When you get really jacked up and locked in, it can either be really bad or really good. Traditionally, whenever the lights have been on Jaemyn, Brakefield, Matthew Murrell, it's been pretty good. So I'm expecting an excellent performance for the Ole Miss Rebels in this tournament. And this game is for the right to face the winner of Iowa State and Lipscomb in the second round. Iowa State is without their point guard. In my opinion, and I've told people all the time, the winner of the Ole Miss North Carolina game is probably going to the Elite Eight, in my opinion. That's just where I'm sitting at the moment with what's going on. But Ole Miss is in a really good shape against North Carolina. It's a guard team. You got Sean Padula. You got Juju Murray. You've got undersized guards with North Carolina and RJ Davis and their point guard. That's his name slips my mind at the moment. Those, I think, are going to eventually cancel each other out. I think Ole Miss is going to try and guard RJ Davis with length, which has given RJ Davis trouble over the course of the season. But he is the second leading scorer in the history of North Carolina, and that is really no laughing matter. So I think they're going to try and guard him with length. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Dre Davis on him a couple of times just to keep him from being able to jack up shots, or if you can speed him up a little bit. Anything you can do to get him off of his rhythm, I think Ole Miss is going to try and do that. And Chris Beard is a master of schematically doing stuff like this. So I don't expect RJ Davis to really go off, although he might. He went 6 of 6 in the play-in game. If he does that again, Ole Miss is in trouble. I don't think that he will. I think that Chris Beard is ready for that as well. We're going to talk about keys in this game, and there's a couple of keys that are interesting. We'll go into the next segment talking about that. But this game has a chance for Ole Miss to kind of announce their arrival on the national scene. You have a blue blood that's going to be wearing the powder blue jerseys or Carolina blue, whatever you want to call it. You're going to be playing in that game against them and potentially the game of the first round of the tournament. I do think that this game has a chance to be the best game of the entire first round of the tournament. I think it has that level because if you look at the ingredients that this game has, they got two teams that were constructed similarly. Okay. You have really dominant guards. You have iffy front court. You have two of the better coaches in all of college basketball between Hubert Davis and Chris Beard. You have disrespect being played on both ends. There's people saying North Carolina didn't belong in the tournament there, and CBS has called Ole Miss the fraud of the tournament and guaranteed a first-round exit. You have an element of disrespect on both sides, which means they're going to play hard. You're not going to have a one-sided game. San Diego State didn't want to be in that game. They got down. They hit the quit button. They got the heck out of Dodge. But when you look at those three things and you put them together, and they're going to play really, really hard against an Ole Miss team, it's hard to extend leads against this Ole Miss team. It's hard to take it from 7 to 19. You can do it, and it's been done. But a lot of times it's really hard to get that Ole Miss team to kind of give in so you can take over the game. Ask Tennessee. Tennessee kept getting it to 7, 8 points and almost kept fighting back and fighting back and fighting back and finally broke through. When you look at those, you have the makings, the ingredients, the talent, and the ability to have the best game in the entire first round. This could be an all-timer type game. And if you're an Ole Miss fan that is looking for a blowout, I don't know if you're going to be very happy. Ole Miss could absolutely and should blast this North Carolina team. I think this Ole Miss team is underrated as far as how good they're looked at from other teams. But if Sean Padula doesn't correct the shot problem that he had in the SEC tournament, it could be problematic. Seriously, it could. Ole Miss needs their three-point game to be on point. Against Auburn, they went like 4 of 23. You're not going to win many games doing that. And you're certainly not going to beat North Carolina doing that. But if Ole Miss is on, let's say good Ole Miss shows up, which I kind of expect good Ole Miss to show up in this game. that Ole Miss team, I don't think North Carolina can play with. North Carolina's best win over their 11-game stretch that everybody's talking about where they only lost to Duke, their best win was against Wake Forest. I don't think Wake Forest is even in the tournament. None of those wins were against a tournament team. And 2 of the losses were against Duke. The one game that they talk about nearly beating Duke, they lost because of a lane violation. Duke was without their 2 best players. So let's kind of pump the brakes a little bit on that and see exactly how it goes for that. Jaemyn Brakefield and Matthew Murrell have been the heartbeat of this program, grinding for years to reach this moment. Now their time has come. Next, I'll tell you why they're ready to go off in Milwaukee. You know, we're all about the stats because numbers do not lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can literally carry the whole team, plus gear wherever you need to go. It is powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro 4X brings the power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little bit of a boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament like most of us, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with the busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I've been staying up late watching all of the tournament action, and the 5-Hour Energy helps keep me up the next day. Whether I'm at a game or traveling, 5-Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps me feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack that's going to be delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery store or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Listen, today could be the last basketball game that Jaemyn Brakefield, Matthew Murrell play for Ole Miss. And so it's important that I do this segment and I talk about them. Because what they have done to this Ole Miss basketball program over the course of the last 5 or so years, it cannot be overstated. It's unbelievably important. Jaemyn Brakefield was the recruiter for Chris Beard when the transition happened. Jaemyn Brakefield kind of held the basketball team together after Kermit Davis left and Ole Miss hired Chris Beard. Jaemyn Brakefield is the guy that was always on campus when every transfer was coming in. Every high school player was coming in to be their guest around campus. Jaemyn Brakefield had his legend moment against the Tennessee Volunteers. Every Ole Miss fan should be excited about Jaemyn Brakefield and the career he's had at Ole Miss. And this is the culmination for him and Matthew Murrell. It will be imperative for both of these players to show up, to show out. Because when you look at the checklist of this Ole Miss basketball team, we brought this up a couple of weeks ago. We did a show. This is what Ole Miss basketball needs to do to be highly successful. Okay? Dominate the turnover battle. This can't be close, and the more they win by, the better. Especially when you're playing a team that rebounds the ball really well, you need to make up for it in turnovers. If you can kind of take possessions back that are given away in the rebounding battle, you have a chance to go. Do not get killed on the boards. If Ole Miss loses by 10 or more, it can tilt the game in a negative way. So, Mississippi State killed them. Auburn killed them. Texas A&M, even though they won on a buzzer beater, their rebounding hurt them a lot. When Ole Miss has a drought in the game, it's whenever they're having one-and-done shots. They're settling for three-point shots, and a drought can happen. And Dre Davis and Matthew Murrell are the key scorers for this Ole Miss team. When they're on, Ole Miss is on at a very, very high level. So when you look at the two players in Jaemyn Brakefield and Matthew Murrell, Jaemyn Brakefield in SEC games this season averaged 12.8 points per game, 4.1 rebounds. That is second in rebounding, or third in rebounding, and second in scoring, coming off of the bench as a sixth man. This is a guy that has done everything that has been asked of him, and he's found a unique role in this Ole Miss team. He has the chance against North Carolina to really stand out. Whenever you look at this North Carolina team, they are very guard dominant of what they're doing. Their guards are everything. So it's going to be imperative to take advantage of what they're not great at, and that is their front court players. If that is their denoted weakness of this North Carolina team, this is a game for Malik Dia. This is a game for Dre Davis. This is a game for Jaemyn Brakefield. And this game should mean a ton to Jaemyn Brakefield and Matthew Murrell. Matthew Murrell, before his injury this year, was the best player on the team. Everybody would tell you that. He's another person that is stuck by this Ole Miss team and has climbed up the scoring list seemingly each and every game when he was about fifth on the list at the moment. This season, he's only averaging in SEC play 10.5 points a game. That's weird for Matthew Murrell, seeing the number that low, but that was because of an injury kind of interrupted his development. And he's kind of fought through that to try and get to this point. He battled all season long for this game in Milwaukee. So know that Matthew Murrell is going to be completely jacked up to play in this basketball game. 3.5 rebounds, 2 assists, a really good player for the Rebels. This is massive, these two players going out. And the other upperclassmen, I mean, when you went to senior day, there was like 8 or 9 players that went through senior day. There's a lot of them. Dre Davis's last game could be today. Sean Padula's last game could be today. Juju Murray's last game could be today. There's a lot of players that are on this list. Now, we'll see how it goes. This is another game that we're talking about. We're going to go over keys in the next segment, but Michael Brown-Jones, if he's playing in this game, I'm curious to see what can happen. This is a game where he can do a little bit of work. Now, North Carolina's had a big man a little bit on a hot streak. He's not the most athletic guy. I think Malik Dia can take advantage of that. Jaemyn Brakefield can take advantage of that. This is a game to where the bigs can go and do a lot of work. I am expecting this game to look a whole lot like the second half of the Ole Miss Tennessee game. You're going to see a lot of isolation plays to where Ole Miss sets it up to where Jaemyn Brakefield or Malik Dia is on their big man and just taking him one-on-one. They're just going to clear out. I think that's going to happen. Once Ole Miss gets into the lane with their guards, they're going to fan them out for three-point shots. It's going to be big for Dre Davis to have a good game. Whenever Dre Davis and Malik Dia has a good game, it's kind of Katie bar to the door for everybody. So if they're on, it doesn't really necessarily matter how on North Carolina is in this game. Listen, everybody has the recency bias. Everybody's going to talk about the 40-point win by North Carolina over San Diego State. And can Ole Miss, lowly Ole Miss, upset this 11th seeded juggernaut? North Carolina is going to be wearing a blue jersey in the game. Ole Miss is going to be wearing a white jersey in the game. And by the way, sidebar, how cool would it be if Ole Miss wore their throwbacks in this game? When the 2001 run for Ole Miss to the Sweet 16 was in those throwback jerseys. How cool would that be? Those uniforms are the best looking uniforms. And I think, just personally, the road version of that uniform looks better than the home version. Ole Miss needs the navy blue version of that uniform as well. That was kind of just the best looking that Ole Miss was in their basketball history. And it would be really cool if Ole Miss wore their throwbacks in that game as opposed to the script Ole Miss jerseys that they wear from time to time. Just my opinion on that. Like I said, it was the last time they went to the Sweet 16, they wore that. So when we come back in our final segment, we'll break down this matchup a little bit and give our final thoughts before tip-offs. Don't miss our last take. Coming up next.
The NCAA Tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA Tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
So Ole Miss and North Carolina getting ready to take off today at 3:05 Central Time on TNT. You can catch the game. This is weird. North Carolina played on Tuesday night, and I talked about this yesterday a little bit. Normally when you play on Tuesday, you play on Thursday. When you play on Wednesday, you play on Friday. That's the way they do the playing games. That's the way Ole Miss had to do it whenever they beat BYU. They had to go to Jacksonville and play Xavier 2 days later. I mean, that's the way that works. North Carolina got a third day. I don't know why North Carolina got a third day, but they did. And conspiracy theories are going to go crazy about this, but it's just like playing any other team at this point when you have that level rest, especially when Milwaukee is like 6 hours away from Dayton. It's a nice, easy bus ride, or in that case, a plane ride to where it's just an up and down. So North Carolina is not going to be the typical playing game opponent. Now, they did have the game to where they went absolutely nuts, and it's always better to get that out of the other team's system, but we'll see exactly how it goes. Now, the keys to this game, I do think Ole Miss needs to guard Dre Davis with lengthy players in the game to try and neutralize UNC's best player, period. Be competitive on the boards versus North Carolina on Friday, and play another clean game and force their offense to try and play offense versus a set defense by limiting transition. Those will be the three major keys in this game. I like Ole Miss's chances to do them. I really do, because of what they have. And guarding Dre Davis with length is going to be a massive, massive task for Ole Miss. I think Matthew Murrell is going to basically have him for majority of the game, and whenever they switch, you're going to see people like Dre Davis and all that get him. If he takes twos, if he goes off from two, you're okay with that. You just don't want him to go off from three. When you look at the players of the game in this game, Dre Davis, Matthew Murrell, and Malik Dia, period. Those are the players that we need to watch of what's going on. If Dre Davis goes off in this game, Ole Miss is going to go off. There's the Malik Dia wearing that Ole Miss jersey. That's the jersey I wish Ole Miss wore today. And Matthew Murrell, he went off against Kentucky. We saw what the Ole Miss Rebels looked like in that game. If Matthew Murrell has a similar game like that against North Carolina, it will be Katie bar the door. And our final score prediction, I'm going with Ole Miss 68, North Carolina 63. Chris Beard continues his streak of winning in the first round. He has never lost in the first round. North Carolina is a very good team. All of that I said in this game, in this segment, is nothing disparaging about North Carolina. They are a really good team. I expect this game to be a game of the first round. This has a chance to be an all-timer. I think Chris Beard is the best coach in America, at least top 5. And because of that, I think you're going to see a situation to where it's every time it gets close, something kind of happens for them to spread it out. Now, Ole Miss has a ton of upperclassmen on this team. They have 7 players that scored at least 1,000 points. You have your leaders in Jaemyn, Brakefield, and Matthew Murrell. You have your shooters in Juju Murray and Sean Padula. You have Malik Dia, who is an enigmatic, but is an absolute mismatch whenever he's on. If he's on against North Carolina, it's going to be interesting. Their big man and Malik Dia, I think both started at Vanderbilt. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. So we will see how how North Carolina decides to try and come at Ole Miss. How do you try to attack Ole Miss? We've talked about how Ole Miss needs to guard them, but how do you try to attack it? And I think the answer to that is North Carolina using dribble penetration to get into the lane and kick it out for corner threes. I think that is the early game plan. And if North Carolina hits those threes early, or if North Carolina does not hit those threes early, will be the difference in Ole Miss winning the game and Ole Miss really winning the game. I think that is what's going to happen. North Carolina might be a favorite by 1.5 according to FanDuel. They might be a favorite for 1.5 points. But as weird as that sounds, and Ole Miss getting to play the underdog role in this game is huge. Chris Beard all week got to talk about how Ole Miss was called the fraud of the tournament. That happened. That's a real thing. Ole Miss players have got to see bracketology coming up to where, North Carolina is the sleeper team to make a run. North Carolina is a good team, but they are not exactly what I think everybody's trying to make them to be. A lane violation against Duke and a win over Wake Forest does not make you a world beater. We'll have to see exactly how that goes. North Carolina has good players. I compare it to Arkansas all the time. If you drew Arkansas to where you're going to have really good, really high level, NBA level type players or high level college players, because North Carolina recruits those players. So there's always a chance that they could just absolutely go off and it look like San Diego State. Whenever you play North Carolina, that's always a possibility. But if Ole Miss withstands the storm, if Ole Miss handles what's going on, gets a little bit of comfort in their game, I think you see a situation that Ole Miss just kind of chips away wins, chips away leads, chips away until the point you look up and it's like Ole Miss is up by 11 points with 6 minutes left. That is what I think might happen. North Carolina is going to be jacking up threes. They went from shooting as a team 32% to in the last 11 games shooting 36%. And that kind of is getting all the credit for their jump up. They changed their lineup to get a little bit bigger. If you can get some foul trouble, you can do all of that stuff. It's going to help you out. But either way, this is a big moment for the Ole Miss basketball team, and we'll see exactly what it looks like for the Rebels. Thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the number one Ole Miss podcast out there. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for checking out Locked On Ole Miss for your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. March is here, so be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everybody. Remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you later.